Hey, everybody, welcome back to the next episode of the Align Love podcast. Today, I have Sabrina Bendory on the show. She is a leading relationship coach, writer, and host of You Will Be Okay, a podcast dedicated to helping women build confidence, overcome self-sabotage, and attract healthy love. She has guided millions of women in breaking free from limiting beliefs and stepping into their highest selves. Her best-selling book, You're Overthinking It, Find Lifelong Love by Being Your True Self, was published in 2023 by Thought Catalog Books and is the ultimate guidebook to life and dating. With a strong presence on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, Sabrina is one of the most sought-after voices in modern dating advice. Through her coaching, courses, and content, she empowers women to cultivate self-worth and create the love lives they desire. I have been following Sabrina for a while now, and I'm so excited to interview her and talk all about should you go back to your ex. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Sabrina, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I know that we were talking before we hopped in together about how we've been following each other for a while. And so it's exciting that we get to just kind of jam out and hang out as friends and talk about something that I know a lot of people ask themselves. And I know I have asked myself this on several occasions in the past. Should I get back with an ex?
It's the number one question. I feel like that's how people find me. It always comes down to that.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So tell me a little bit before we jump in and talk about that topic. Tell me a little bit about your story because you actually married an ex.
I did. And I actually developed the career that I have by trying to get back together with a different ex. So I married my high school ex-boyfriend, and I'll tell you, it's a crazy story. I'll try to condense it down. But in terms of my career, quickly, how that came to be is I was in a very toxic relationship when I was in college. He ended up cheating on me, leaving me for the girl he cheated on me with. I couldn't get past it. And I became like an emotional vampire. And all of a sudden, all these guys wanted me when you're kind of like in that space. Like, I mean, look, it brings the guys in, but you can't have healthy relationships that way. Anyway, I reached out to him and I was like, kind of sounded like such an idiot at the time. I was very young. I was like 21, 22. I was like talking about how all these guys are after me and trying to make him jealous and make him realize what he missed out on. And he was like, you should write about this and teach other women how to do it. And that's how I became a relationship coach. That's where it started. In terms of my ex, basically the story is we dated in high school. He broke up with me. I was devastated. And over the span of like 10 years, every few years, we would run into each other. And I would always feel this, like that womanly intuition inside was telling me like, this is the person for you. I would just feel it like in my bones, but nothing would register. He would text me for a little bit, we would flirt, and then he would like drop off the face of the planet. And then a few years would go by and then I would see him again and I would get my hopes up and I would think, okay, like ask me out, like, let's go. Like I would open the door wide. I would send all the green light signals and then it would just be nothing. It would fall flat. And then after a decade of this, I just hit this point in my own life. I was at the end of my 20s. I was so sloppy with dating and I had like a disorganized attachment style. I would latch on to the wrong guys. I would push away the right ones. So I went through this intense period that I call the summer of me, where I really, really did that inner work. I had a lot of tools before that. The problem is I wasn't implementing any of them. I had done somatic work and energy work and all these things worked, but they only work if you're committed to it. And I wasn't until I was like, that's enough. Like I've had enough of myself. So I did this whole like inner transformation. And then all of a sudden, magically, he wanted to date me and all these guys wanted to date me. All these women wanted to be my friends. And our first date was 7 hours long. And by our third date, he knew that he wanted to marry me. And it was crazy. When I was 29, I mean, I was single as can be, not a man in sight. When I was 30, I got engaged, married, and pregnant with my first baby all within that year.
It's wild.
That's a very condensed version of a very crazy story.
I love it. I love it. Well, and I love to hear it because I often say it to people. I mean, I tell the ladies that I work with all the time, like I collapse timelines, and I was able to do it because I actually started implementing all of the work that I was doing and having it actually land in my body. And that's what called in really magnetic people into my life and a really healthy partner. And so I love hearing that story because I'm just like, yeah, this is what it looks like when you finally, because how many women do we know who've been, and I was one of them,
Mhm.
who've been in talk therapy for 10 plus years,
Oh, yeah.
right? And they can tell you they're disorganized. They can tell you that they have anxious attachment. They can tell you that they're avoidant, but yet they're not really implementing any of the work that they're doing
Yeah.
on themselves. And it's keeping them from what they desire.
And I don't even think that we can emphasize the importance of it enough. It's the awareness is important. You have to have that part of it, but you also need the tools. And
Mm,
just finding the right person isn't magically going to fix everything. I
yes.
had to work really hard to not sabotage that relationship. That was my MO. I was a saboteur. Like I couldn't accept good things because I didn't think I was deserving of them. I remember early on, I started to feel a little anxious. And I was talking to him about it, and he was like, "Well, don't worry, I'm not going anywhere." And I had this visceral reaction, like a fire inside of me. And I was like, suddenly felt rage. And I'm like, why do I
Mm,
feel rage right now? Like, why do I feel like I want to kill him? And it's because the other ex I told you about, the college one, he used to say that to me all the time. And he
yeah.
did go somewhere. He cheated on me and he left me and it ruined me. But I was responsible. I couldn't say this is your fault. What did he do? He said I'm not going
Right.
anywhere, and he meant it. It was I had to take responsibility for what was happening in my nervous system at that time and recognize, no, I can't punish him for someone else's mistakes. And also
Mm,
because I was so young when that other trauma had happened, I didn't have any tools. I didn't cope with it properly. I coped with it by like getting blackout drunk and like getting attention from boys, right? Like I didn't
right.
properly handle it. So it still lived in me and it could still come up. So I had to notice when that was happening and take responsibility for it and work through it so that I wouldn't
Mm.
sabotage the relationship, which wasn't easy. It's unbelievable how like we can want something, but at the same time be terrified of having the very thing that we want so badly.
Yeah, yeah, it's so true. It's so funny. That reminds me of a story when Nathan and I first started dating. I remember I had a similar situation where we got in an argument and he was like, "Hey, I just need some space, but like I'm here. I'm not going
Mhm.
anywhere. I need to take some space," which is so healthy, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I did?
What?
I packed up all of my stuff in the house
No, you didn't. No.
and I made it all the way to the kitchen with
Mhm.
all my stuff. And I got to the kitchen and I was like, "What am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing? I'm
Right.
I'm trying to leave. This man just told me, like, yes, we're in an argument, but because of my past relationships and my trauma where I thought everybody's going to leave. So if
Mm.
I leave first, then I can't get hurt. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. So I had packed up all my things and then I got to the kitchen and I remember I had all my things around me and I sat down and I called my best friend and I said, "I'm not leaving, but I just need you to be with me for a second because I need to sit in this discomfort. Like I've got to heal this. This is
Yeah.
insane."
Yeah.
Right.
I tell it to my clients, my followers all the time. Like, if you want to grow, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to get
Yeah.
comfortable in the discomfort. And
Mm,
it's really great hearing you say that because I feel like people could watch you on social media and think, oh, like she has it all together and she like,
no.
she doesn't get triggered, like she figured it all out. But no, it's true of you and it's definitely true of me. I mean, me and my husband do not have this flawless, amazing relationship. My MO when we get into an argument is I want to shut down. I go classic
Mm,
avoidant, like, and it's so hard for me to have to like take some deep breaths, regulate myself, and be like, okay, like, let's talk about it. I dread
yeah.
it. I feel like coming up
It's
in my body,
hard.
but I do it, and then we're in a healthier place. And so it's the work that has to be done. But it's a lifelong commitment. This is not a marathon here. It's not like, okay, I'm working, I'm working, working. Okay, I got it. I crossed the finish line, and everything's great now. No finish
Yeah.
line. It
And
becomes easier. It becomes more integrated. It becomes more natural. But it's always something that you're going to have to work on.
right, right. And I think it's, when you commit to, and I'm sure it was the same for you in that moment when I didn't leave, I recognized like, whoa, I'm breaking a huge pattern.
Yeah.
And it then gave, because I chose myself in that moment and I said, I still need to lean in here. Like I still
Mhm.
need to look at this. It also gave permission for my partner to lean in and be
Yeah.
like, "Hey, you don't like, I understand that you were scared and you felt like you needed to pack up all your things and leave, but I'm here. Like what, you don't need to do that." And so what's really beautiful, I think, about choosing yourself prior to getting into partnership is that you're able to do it then in partnership and at least I think deepen that connection in a more rapid way.
For sure. Yeah. And going back to just getting back with an ex, the biggest thing people need to realize is that if nothing has changed, then nothing will change. You're just going to relive the same dynamic. My roommate who I was living with before I started dating my husband, oh my God, that relationship broke me. I wasn't even in it, but they would just fight and they would break up. And then the next week they're back together. And then they would break up for the exact same reason they broke up 2 weeks ago. And it just went on and on and on. So that's part of it, is that you have to clean up your side of the street. You can't take responsibility for him. And for all those years that my husband was not wanting to date me, he was on his own journey with figuring himself out, and he had his own failed relationships. But I had to take responsibility for what was within my locus of control. And that was me, and that was my triggers and my issues and my messy attachment style and like the chasing after the emotionally avoidant guys, like all of that. And that's what brought me to a place where I actually could be in a healthy relationship for the first time ever. I have had so many boyfriends, so many situationships, all of it. It was always either me chasing after someone, trying to pin them down, or the guy hopelessly in love with me and obsessed with me and me feeling broken because like, why can't I just like him back? Yeah. Life would be so much easier if I just liked this guy. Why? Why do I always want those ones and not this one? And with my husband, it was the first time where a guy liked me and I liked him back at the same level. It had never happened before.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I always say that because women will ask me, okay, should I go back? Should I get back into this partnership? And I always say, have you worked on yourself? Have you gotten curious about why this relationship ended in the first place? And also, has he? Because if there isn't this sense, and it sounds like this is what happened in your journey, there was self-development on your side. Your husband was doing his own work. And so when you did reconnect, it was like, oh, this is a new relationship. It's a totally different iteration of something that wasn't what we had in the past. Therefore, it was able to work.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the most important piece of it. It's just loving each other isn't enough. Missing each other isn't enough. Chemistry, good sex, none of those things are enough to actually have a healthy relationship. First, you need to look at, okay, can we fix what broke? Like, okay, in our case, what broke was like, okay, he wasn't ready to settle down. And in our second iteration, he was at a point where he was ready to get married and settle down. Also, like a big sign of that is all his friends were married or in serious relationships. And normally if a man is in a group of friends where everyone settled down, okay, he wants to settle down. His light is on, like he's ready. So he was in that phase. Can we fix, like, what were the problems? Was it political differences? Was it religious differences? Some things can't be solved. And even though everything else was great, if you can't get past those, and I see that with my clients all the time, if you can't get past one never wants to have kids, one wants to have a lot of kids, those are things that can't be solved. Don't fool yourself into thinking, oh, love will find a way, love conquers all, all those platitudes that we've heard throughout our entire lives. So that's the first thing. The next is, okay, you're going to do the work on your end, but is he doing the work on his end? Relationships fall apart. It's not usually one person's fault here. It is a buildup of things. It is a buildup of things that broke the relationship down over time. Now, I've had clients who come to me, so like, I have anxious attachment. This guy, my ex-boyfriend, is avoidant, but I want to make it work. I want to make it work. So fine, I could work with her to heal that anxious attachment style. And then a lot of the time I'll see them get back with an ex, but he hasn't done any work on his avoidant attachment style. He still thinks it's her problem. It's her fault that like there's problems. She's too much. She's being too needy. And so it's never going to work. So he also needs to commit to doing the work on his end. And then once you have that baseline of chemistry, fundamental compatibility, we cannot underestimate the importance of compatibility. Then the last thing you have is that you both choose each other. You both choose each other. Love is a verb. It's an action. It comes every day. It is a commitment. We are committed to making this work. And if a relationship fell apart because it just got too hard and he couldn't cope, he couldn't deal with it, you cannot be in a relationship like that. Life is hard and the hits are just going to keep coming at you, especially when you have kids, when children are in the mix. It doesn't get easier. It really doesn't. Yeah. So these are the things that people really need to be mindful of.
Well, I love that you said there are certain things that you cannot shift about somebody that you really need to, kind of grasp if you want to be in a long-term relationship, because that was me. I was always, in my past relationships, I was trying to fit kind of a square peg in a round hole, right? And that's why I believe it's so important I call them non-negotiables, for women to get really, really clear on their non-negotiables, and not he has to have 6-pack abs. Like,
right. That's a preference.
That's
I always let them, like, make a preference list. That's fine. That's a preference.
Yeah. But a non-negotiable is I want children. Like
Right.
that's a non-negotiable. That's something that you shouldn't negotiate. If you know in your heart and you know in your soul and you know intuitively that that's meant for you.
Right.
And I'm so glad that you just reiterated that statement because I cannot tell you how many women, especially when they get in their 30s and they feel like, time's ticking. I'm probably not, quote unquote, in my 20s and like hot and sexy anymore. They try to start fitting these relationships into a box. And then the next thing they know, they wake up in their 40s and their 50s and they're in really unhappy marriages and really unhappy relationships.
Yeah, I see that all the time. You can never date from a place of fear, of thinking, oh, okay, well, he says he doesn't want kids or whatever his circumstances are, but maybe he'll change. Like maybe he'll just love me enough that he'll change. First of all, you can never have kids with somebody who doesn't want them. If you're gonna have kids, you better really, really want them. I mean, it is
Yeah.
hard. It is hard, all caps hard, right? You can't go into it thinking, well, maybe he'll change. Because really behind that, it's fear. It's fear
Yeah.
that, well, what if this is the best I could do? And I don't want
Mhm.
to, it's either this or I'm going to end up alone. And so
Mhm.
that's that scarcity mindset that causes all the problems. Isn't it interesting how when you're dating, the world can feel so depopulated? Like it can
Yep.
feel like, oh no, I only have 5 options of men to date. And this one's the best one. It's like there's something like over 8 billion people in
Yeah.
this world. But it doesn't feel like that. It feels like there's no one. Sometimes it
Right.
really feels like, no, this is the only one. And I can't, if I don't make this work, I'm never ever going to find better. It's so illogical, but it feels so real when you're in it.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
scarcity, that lack. And so the most important thing is to really work on your self-worth and to get to the root of, why do I feel this way? Why do I
Mhm.
feel like I'm never going to find anyone? Who told me that? When did I tell myself that? When did I decide that? The story that I had told myself for so long is that I was broken. And what I needed to look at was like, where did that come from? Part of it came from my upbringing. Part of it came from beliefs I internalized. A big part of it came from the toxic college relationship where this is awful. I mean, I can't even believe I stayed with him after he said this to me, but he said to me, he was like, the reason that I chose you is that I knew I could never breed with someone like you. Like I knew I would never want to have
Oh
kids
my
with someone like
God.
you because you have so many issues. And he said that to me and I stayed in the relationship. But I internalized the belief that, oh, and just he said it in the context of like, before me, he was in a relationship and she dumped him and he was devastated and he was just kind of looking for like a rebound. And I was just, it was very codependent. He was pretty narcissistic. It was horrendous. And that stayed with me. I never really challenged that. It stayed with me. I always knew I wanted a big family. I always knew I wanted 4 kids. And I was like, how is this ever going to happen? Like, I'm broken. I'm broken. I'm never going to find anyone. So I really had to get to the source of that and challenge it and challenge it. I never challenged just because it came from him and he was someone I loved. It took years and years for me to zoom out and realize, oh my gosh, like he was a narcissist. Like it's not
Mhm.
that I was broken. Why did I let that get so wired into my nervous system? Like why did I let
Mhm.
that live in me for so long? So it's so important to challenge these beliefs that we have about ourselves because you're like Jamie Kern, right? Jamie
Yeah.
Lima
Jamie
Kern.
Kern Lima. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
Jamie Kern
okay.
Lima.
Yes, I always mess up the names, but she says your self-worth is your ceiling. You are only going to
Mhm.
allow yourself to have as much happiness and as much love, as much abundance as you think that you deserve. And so it made sense that I was just settling for guys that treated me like such garbage because that they were just mirroring how I already felt about myself.
Are you a high achieving woman who is tired of swiping left and right, hoping to find the love of your life? Are you ready to break free from toxic relationships and finally create a deep, lasting connection with someone who truly aligns with your heart and soul? Well, I want to introduce you to the Align Love Collective, a transformative 6-month coaching container designed to help you find your soulmate without sacrificing your career or wasting any more time on the dating apps. In the Align Love Collective, you'll embark on a journey of self-discovery and personal growth. Our team of expert coaches and therapists will guide you through a proven process to discover the root of what's keeping you from finding your soulmate, Understand how to get your nervous system in alignment with what you desire. Then watch it all unfold as you implement the roadmap that will lead you straight into the arms of the one you love. But that's not all. When you join the Align Love Collective, you become a part of a supportive community of like-minded individuals, all on their own journeys to finding the love that aligns with their deepest desires. You'll receive ongoing support through live coaching sessions and exclusive resources to help you every step of the way. Plus, you'll gain access to guest experts to ensure that you have the tools that you need for success. Don't settle for anything less than the love you deserve. Join the Align Love Collective and discover the path to a healthy, lasting love. If you want to learn more, visit my website at www.laurenzzoller.com/soulmate, SOULMATE, to learn more. The Align Love Collective, where love and alignment go hand in hand.
Yeah. And that's the key, right? Is that when you wake up to the realization that everything in your reality is a reflection. Mm-hmm. It's a reflection of the way that you view yourself and the way that you love yourself and what you actually think you're worthy of receiving. Then that's the awareness piece that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And being able to really own that, I think truly, I don't know if it's the same for you, that's 90% of the battle.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Up, right. And then the healing comes, and then you decide, okay, now that I own this, now that I really know this, now I can start actually using the tools to shift the way that I talk to myself, the beliefs that I truly believe, the thoughts that I think, the feelings that I feel, the actions that I put forward in the dating world. All of that comes from being able to say, wait a second, this reality, I'm creating it. Like, this is my doing.
Yes. And people don't realize that. We don't realize how much control we actually have over our lives. We focus so much on the uncontrollable. When is my soulmate coming? When am I going to have babies? The clock is ticking against me. Things aren't happening. I'm not making the money I want to make. I don't live in the type of house I want to live in. We focus on the uncontrollable. We focus on the externals rather than, okay, what level am I vibrating at here? Right? Like, what am I putting out there? And then you'll notice when you make those shifts, everything starts to change around you. And one tool that I really use, which I feel like I need to talk more about this, is the George Costanza technique. Did you ever watch Seinfeld?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. So remember the episode where George decides that he's just going to do everything different? He's like, my life, it sucks and I want to change. So he's at the deli and he's like, you know what? I always order egg salad. Today I'm going to order tuna. He orders tuna. And then this beautiful woman is like, oh my God, I ordered the exact same thing. And everything starts to go right in his life. I literally adopted that in my
I love it.
Where I was like, okay, like I'm feeling sad and my inclination is either to binge or to starve myself or to like black out and get attention from guys. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have some green juice. I'm going to do a meditation. I'm going to go to a yoga class. I'm going to do everything opposite of what my instinct is. And just doing that completely started to shift how I felt about myself because I was treating myself with self-respect. I was not like, no, I'm going to punish myself because I deserve to be punished. Instead, it was like, no, I'm going to treat myself with love and with care and with kindness. And I really started to become someone who actually valued herself for the first time ever. And that was when everything started to change around me. People don't even realize, I mean, granted, I really wanted a relationship, but I didn't even realize how much else would change. Like my friendships just got so much better because when I was no longer in that place of operating from jealousy, from lack, from comparison, from being so caught up in my own self-involved world of my own pain, I could be a better friend. And people want to align with somebody who's like that. I was much healthier. I stopped binging. I think it like shocked me one day when I realized, oh my God, I've had a jar of Nutella in the cabinet for 2 months now. Normally it would last like a day, right? Like I'd feel bad about myself. I need that dopamine hit. I'm going to go. Instead it was like, okay, no, I would have like a little bit at a time because I had self-worth, because I finally regulated my ups and my downs and my sloppiness. And above all, I was no longer allowing the outside world to tell me who I was. Because first of all, that's not even a realistic gauge because you're always going to look at things through the lens of how you already feel about yourself. So I felt terrible about myself already. Like I'm worthless. I'm broken. I'm damaged. Guys don't want to breed with me, whatever it was. And I was always just kind of looking for evidence of that. And then once you shift the way you feel about yourself, then all of a sudden there's all this evidence of like, no, like I do have a lot to offer. I am someone
Yeah.
of value here.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because you're talking about identity shifts, like you shifted your complete identity, and a really powerful exercise too in that, because I think that that's amazing to take everything that you do and flip it on its head and do it in a different way. Something else that I have my clients do is I say, okay, what is the belief that you truly believe? You believe that my story was everyone leaves, like everybody's going to leave. And I had to sit and say, okay, wait a second. I had to get out a piece of paper and write down who has never left. Who has been there? Who has been there from the beginning, or who has been there for years? And I started to realize like, oh, I have all of these people in my life that have never left. My mom's never left. My dad's never left. My brother's never left. My friends have never left. And I realized like that belief, it was so deeply ingrained into my identity, and it was starting to seep out in the way that men were attracted to me. And so I think that so many nuggets in this podcast episode today of things that women can just take and start to apply. And I love it. One last thing that I want to ask you, I ask it on every single episode of the Aligned Love podcast. When you hear the words aligned love, what does that mean to you?
That means to me that you can just be. You're not forcing, you're not chasing, you're aligned in that you're compatible. You want the same kind of relationship. This is a big one. And this is exactly how it was when I started dating my husband. There was never a part of me that would ever think to ask the question, is he serious about me? Does he, even before we were like official, I remember I referred to him as my boyfriend because I'm like, he just like is my boyfriend. And then like when he brought it up to me, it was just like, he showed me a text message he had sent someone and he referred to me as his girlfriend. He was like, oh, like, is it okay to that? I'm like, yeah, like everything was just so clear and obvious. Relationships should not be so hard. They're hard in that, it takes work. You have to put in the work. Love is a verb, like I said earlier, but the hard part is not in, does he like me? How does he feel about me? Is he serious about me? Do we want the same things? Like there was never any of that. And I remember all my friends, my family, everyone was like, you just seem like yourself. You seem like you could just be. And so that's what I think it means to be aligned.
I love that. I love it so much. I can't reiterate that enough for the people that are listening, because coming from two people, you and I, who, at least in my history, I thought that love had to be like, it was supposed to be hard when you got in it. To be with someone, again, it's not that we don't argue. It's not that we don't grow. It's not that we're not healing, but to have a teammate and to just know that that person is in alignment with you is something that I wish that we could take this feeling and bottle it up and give it to single women.
Oh my gosh, we would be a fortune.
Yeah. Because God, I would have paid like millions of dollars for that.
I know. And I also want to stress in terms of of what you just said. Yeah, I wish we could bottle it up. It reminds me of a conversation I was having with a client the other day. We've been working together for a while, and she was like, I'm still having a hard time detaching from this guy. Do you have any other books you could recommend? Anything? I'm like, no. Because I've already given you all the books. You have all the tools. You've been with this therapist.
Yes.
You have everything you need. You just need to do it. You need to implement it. That's it. You have to implement. It's not just going to come to you because you watched an inspiring reel on Instagram or you highlighted pages in a book. That could spark something. But a lot of the time, for example, in her case, if you're not detaching from this guy, it's because it's still fulfilling a need within you. It still is. You're still holding on to something. And you have to use your tools to understand, what is it? Why can't I just let go of someone who clearly does not want me? Who does not want me? Like, why? What's so hard about that? Yeah. So it's the action. It's the implementation. At the end of the day, I feel like so many people in the relationship space, it's so funny because when I started, there was none. I mean, it was like me and Matthew Hussey, like that was it. Like, no one else. I know. There was no one. Now there's so many of us, which is amazing because I could have used that when I was going through this.
Right.
Like, if I needed relationship advice, I would watch Sex and the City or like read Cosmo magazine. Like that was my source. But now there's so many. And I realized there's a lot of overlap. A lot of people are saying the same things. And I remember feeling like, oh, this is so discouraging because like we're all saying like such similar things and talking about the same concepts. But I was like, the difference is who's going to inspire you to implement. That's what draws people to you. That's why someone will want to work with one coach over another. It's because who is going to finally motivate me to just do it. To just do it. So if you leave this podcast with anything that will change your life, let it be that. Whatever tools you have, start using them.
Yeah. Yeah. And know that it's not going to be comfy.
No,
it's not going to be, it's not going to be a walk in the park. It's going to be uncomfortable. And so it's finding someone that can sit with you in that discomfort and say, hey, like, you're going to be okay.
Right.
And you got to do it.
Right. It's the same. I always compare it to like working out and getting in shape. Yeah. When you go to the gym for the first time, it doesn't feel good. It's hard. It's not comfortable. Your body does not want to be there. When you're on a diet, it's uncomfortable. Like that's what my husband was saying the other day. He's like, the secret to weight loss is that you just have to be okay being a little uncomfortable all the time.
Yeah, it's so true.
You know? And yeah, it's true. It's not comfortable, but it gets easier. Eventually you go to the gym, you know what you're doing. You're able to navigate. Eventually eating healthier becomes more integrated into your lifestyle. So it's the same thing. And going back to the tools, just as you can watch all the fitness videos you want about what to eat, what to do, what exercises to do. You could sit and watch it all day and you'll know everything. It doesn't mean anything until you go out and do it.
Exactly.
So it's the same exact thing when it comes to the inner work.
I love it. I love it so much. So Sabrina, you have a podcast. You also have a book.
Yes. And I'm writing another one right now.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. So can you talk a little bit about how people can get their hands on the podcast, how they can get their hands on the book, and then also where they can follow you if they're interested in coming into your world?
Of course, please. I am Sabrina Bendory on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. My podcast is called You Will Be Okay. And my book is called You're Overthinking It. It's available anywhere you can find books. And my website is sabrinabendory.com.
I love it. Sabrina, this was so fun.
So fun. Thank you for having me. And I will definitely have to have you on my podcast as well. So we'll work that out.
I would love it. I would love it. And hopefully we'll have you on again once the next book is released.
Sure. Oh my gosh, I'm almost done with it. I'm so excited. What a mountain to climb this process is, but I'm really, really excited for this one. So yes, I will be back.
Awesome. Thank you.
That wraps up today's episode of the Aligned Love podcast. One thing that would really help me and the other new potential listeners is for you to rate this show and leave a comment wherever you tune in and listen. Also, make sure to link up with me on Instagram at Lauren Zoeller, and please share this podcast with anyone who you think may enjoy it. Until next episode, remember, every transformation begins with one moment of awareness, and I hope today has been yours. I'll see you next time.